Hello, and welcome to the Geek Quorum.
It's a fracking podcast.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I'm Byrne.
On this episode, we're going to be talking about episodes 4 and 5 of The Mandalorian.
There's a lot to talk about. Episode 4, I think, is sad to say my least favorite episode of the series so far. I have a lot to say about that. But at the same time, as I was kind of contemplating what that means to me, I was also reminded that in some ways it's my most favorite episode as well. Like, it gave the internet the baby Yoda playing with the radio meme is honestly one of my absolute favorites. There's so much to do with that. And it was the baby Yoda episode. And I gotta say, like, I felt like watching this show, this is like the Mandalorian, aka the Baby Yoda show.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
God, every time Baby Yoda is on camera, I'm rapt. I am dying of cute. Like, it really is kind of an amazing gift to the world, Baby
hmm
Yoda.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, if you edit out Baby Yoda,
hmm
this episode is really I didn't enjoy it. I
hmm
found many parts of it to be kind of laughable and unbelievable.
Yeah.
There were some tropes in there that
So
I
many
couldn't get
cliches.
past.
Yeah.
Even in that respect, my least favorite. I don't know. What did you think?
I agree. I watched it and I was thinking this is uncharacteristically mediocre. I was waiting for the leap that we were expecting from in our last discussion, talking about starting a new act. Like this next series of episodes was going to be like Act Two in this season's story, and I felt that it didn't really do much in terms of progression. I always look and try to see, like, all right, what did this particular episode do to move the story forward? And
Right.
I really struggled to come up with something that was like, okay, this was the sticky on the whiteboard moment of we learn something. There were small things. He met an old friend fighter person and she helped him in this quest. Will she show up again this season? Maybe, maybe not, but that wasn't so significant, right? We know that he's being pursued, or Baby Yoda's being pursued still, but we kind of already knew that. And we didn't think they were just going to like abandon tracking him. And then, like you said, there were just so many cliches and things that were just
Yeah.
the poor
Okay.
villagers who are being
The
under oppression by a militant group that's charging them to for protection or taxes or tariffs or whatever, and they're needing someone to save them.
Right, and that there was another commentary I heard recently, which is one of the reasons why Mandalorian is so good, is it's returning to Star Wars roots, which is this kind of Joseph Campbellization or Joseph Campbell take on storytelling, which is about going to these archetypal roles and characters and plot devices. In this particular one, we literally are going back to Aesop fables of the ants and the grasshoppers, which is retold in Bug's Life, and it's been
Right.
told. The story has been told a million times,
Yeah.
and for that reason, I just was like, and I could see it the moment they started telling the story.
hmm
I was like, oh, great, this is where they're going. The kind of facet of that kind of storyline and that archetype that I really hate is the inevitable scene where one military person or two military people is training a bunch of civilians to become hardcore fighters.
hmm
No, I'm sorry. Like, I just don't believe it.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. And you mentioned Aesop and fables and whatnot. I thought the one thing that was fun about the episode, and again, it was again fan service. My one of my favorite parts was obviously the ATST, and everyone loves the Scoutwalker. It's just a fabulous, iconic vehicle. What I liked about how they used it in this episode was it was almost like out of some Beowulf ish tale of the monster out in the woods. This is the
Mm.
Grendel. This is the thing out there that's this monster that's going to get the villagers. And the way it was portrayed and acted and animated, it was like that. It had like this very monster animal ish sort of personality to it, if you will, because it behaved like one. And I like that they apply that to this machine so that it actually feels like a character more than just a vehicle. Just even the way that it was lit, like with the red viewports for eyes, and I thought that was just really clever.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that. There's generally though, but I'm gonna kind of, I don't know if I'm being overcritical, but I'm gonna harp on the fan service that perhaps is completely unavoidable and unintentional.
Hmm.
I think every Star Wars movie feels this compulsion to pander,
Mm.
pull in and revisit old places, old droids, old things. You have these internet videos of like the top 20 Easter eggs
Hmm.
that are just you can't avoid as fans just pour over every single little detail,
Hmm.
which they're going to do, and you can't stop.
Right.
Uh, I just dare, John Favreau and Dave Filoni, I dare you, give us a wholly original 30 minutes with nothing from the old universe. Just give us something new.
Yeah, and that might be a good transition to talking about episode 5 for me, which I felt was perhaps the most fan servicey episode we've seen so far. And I didn't think it was a great episode. It was better than the episode 4. It did at
Hmm.
least have a step forward moment, even though it was literally the very, very last few frames of the episode. But I felt like this one was a remix too far almost. It was really getting close for me because when they arrive or he arrives at Tatooine and they don't announce it as that, but you just see this really familiar looking planetscape. And the first thing I'm thinking is that sure looks like Tatooine because I've seen the opening scene of Star Wars a million times. And the way the planet is rendered and the little blue atmosphere around it, it's iconic. It's in my mind. It's burned in there. And then they say, "Oh, Mos Eisley Spaceport," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. They're going there. Okay, that's fine." They didn't land at Docking Bay 94. I'll give them that. So, but to go into the cantina, that cantina, and
The
sit at
exact same
and
cantina.
and sit in that booth, uh, okay. Yeah, and sure, throw in Tusken Raiders, throw in dewbacks, throw in pit droids, throw in. It's like, okay, I don't know the reason why Tatooine had to be in this episode.
Of all places.
I don't know what it is about Tatooine. It's always bugged me, even in the films, other than the first movie, and I guess they had to go back for Return of the Jedi, but it's supposed to be this backwater planet. That's the whole point. And it shows up so many times and gets far too much attention. I would think the only reason that people would go there now would be because it's a historical spot. If anything, the cantina should have been like this.
A tourist
Have a plaque
destination.
like this on this spot. Luke
Oh my
Skywalker met
God.
whatever, and like
I would have loved to have seen as he's walking down the street, right? Like a bunch of tourists with this little person walking
right,
backwards holding a flag saying, and over here we have, and then over here we have. Yeah, that was a little too much. It just seemed unbelievable. I think you put it right. In my mind, I said this is a really significant planet for what is supposed to be a very insignificant planet.
right,
And whenever they return back to the planet, they undermine that aspect of the planet, even going backwards.
yeah, exactly,
Like, I think just to preserve the original intent of the story, directors should just be like, no, Tatooine really was. Don't go back to Tatooine. It should be like in the writer's Bible
right.
for Star Wars.
All right. So, but things we did like about episode 5. I don't have too many thoughts on episode 5 in terms of, again, it was much like episode 4, very straightforward. There is a little bit of a twist in how it resolved with the novice bounty hunter guy shooting the target, which kind of unexpected. I guess we thought maybe that would be a more prominent character, but I guess not.
But is
Yeah,
she alive?
I didn't.
Is Fennec alive?
I She could be. You take a blaster shot to the gut and she falls over. Someone at the end went to her. Maybe. What do you think?
There's a lot to be said about this character at the end. But before we start talking about a character we have really yet to see, a lingering question in my mind are what happens to all of these characters we've been introduced to so far? They all seem so far disposable.
Hmm.
They all seem to be kind of these transient, temporary characters that we're introduced to, and they exist to help with the episode, but they're not being integrated into the overall plot of the series of the season. Maybe we will see them again, and I suspect we will see the character from episode 4 again.
Hmm.
But Nick Nolte's character, the Ugnaught,
Hmm.
who I liked that character.
Yeah.
Even IG-11,
Yeah. Oh,
I
if there's
like
one
that
character I could
character.
bring back, it
Like,
would be IG-11. I mean, just he had spunk, that guy. It's just fun to watch, but
yeah.
also probably expensive
So
to animate. But yeah,
so we know about these characters. I wish there was some signal that what we're building here is not this single storyline that follows this one character,
mhm,
but that we're actually building scaffolding around all these other characters as well. I don't get that sense. The universe in that respect is not getting as big as I kind of want it to be. That's another thing that we're missing from this series, which I think is a really important part of every Star Wars story is there's a team of people. It's the
mhm,
friendships that get involved. Every story has them. I don't
yeah,
think you can sustain this series with literally one and only one protagonist.
yeah, and his
So,
silent but very cute sidekick.
right, I do think that well what I think is more about what I hope. I hope come season 2, the Mandalorian is the principal character, but we're going to
Hmm.
have a larger supporting cast of allies
Right.
that he can interact with, that you can develop relationships with, that character, more character will happen and less plot.
It would be nice if going forward we had one that stuck around and added something not just to the dynamic with the Mandalorian, but added to the story. Um, if you go back to some of the stories that have the best cast and the best premises, like Buffy is one that comes up a lot. In that the point of that story was Buffy. She wants to be normal, but she can't because she's a Slayer, and every character in the cast in some way represented that conflict. And that's one of the shows that people always hold up as, this is a really good example of how to make all of your side characters really impact what the story is about. And so far in this one, can't say that's happened really. Obviously, the Mandalorians in his tribe represent him, but that's a little too easy. There's got to be other things. So I'm hoping that there will be more characters that come in and help service the the show and what the show is about. Yeah, I think as we look at the direction of the show, where we're at right now, which is past the midway point, the way they're doing these stories in these very narrow, focused, episodic ways of one episode, one very minute story beat, for each one. I don't know that they have the time to build up to two more major plot rises and
No, I
falls.
think
Falls.
I think not. I think in hindsight we're going to look back at season 1 in much the way we looked at back at episode 1 of the first season, which is it was a long way of introducing the real story.
Mm-hmm.
What's lingering, unlike Game of Thrones that just creates or any number of kind of popular franchises on television and streaming services where you introduce a million threads and a million characters and they're all pursuing their own interests, and at some point they start to converge at the end. This is very simple, and the one question I have, the only thread that I think is interesting, is not even directly addressed, which is who is the big bad guy?
Yeah.
Sure, there's Werner Herzog, but I think lingering in the background is another big bad guy, a baddie,
Mm-hmm.
that we're going to discover only at the end, because all of this it must service some larger plot within the kind of galactic context.
Yeah, I was hoping back in episode 1 when the IG-88, IG-11 said, his bounty directive was to kill the Baby Yoda, it seemed to me that there were multiple agents involved. So like Werner sent dozens of people to find the Baby Yoda, but my impression was that he didn't like alternate. All right, you're going to save it, and you're going to kill it. You're going to save it. You're going to why? Um, it's if its instructions were bring it back alive if you can, versus bring it back dead. That doesn't make sense. That's not logical. So my understanding was that there was some other person or directing people to go find the Baby Yoda, but make sure that it was dead. And so, but they've kind of dropped that.
Well, not to mention, why were there so many people guarding Baby Yoda?
Yeah.
Like, I think one question I have is like, did the Mandalorian really screw things up by literally like mowing down an entire protective detail for this one asset?
Mm-hmm.
Who were they? Who did they serve?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very possible that maybe it all does come back to episode 1, which seemed at the time to be insignificant, inconsequential up into the last very 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think on this subject we have spoken.
We have.
Yes, we have. So, looks like the jump clock is running down on our time. We thank everyone for watching. Again, please do all the things you're supposed to do with this YouTube stuff, and we appreciate you following us on this. It's been a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to the next ones. So, until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks so much for watching Geek Core. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications bell, give this video a big thumbs up, and make sure to share this video with as many people as possible. It really helps our channel.